let's talk about these Birds. Last night, they cannot complete the sweep in Miami, losing 5-zip to the Fish. It was a nice shove fest for Pablo Lopez. Is really good. Really good.
Yeah.
He moves the ball. He keeps the ball down in the zone. And he's actually got the third best start in Marlins franchise history in terms of an ERA in your first 3 starts of the season. This guy's ERA is 0.52 right now. So he's behind like Dontrell Willis and Josh Beckett for just crazy good starts for the Marlins. 7 innings last night, punched out 9, only allowed 3 hits to the Cardinals. The Cardinal bats were silent all night long, so we can talk about that. But if you're trying to look for a positive, which I always am, even though the offense was anemic, seeing Jordan Hicks finally get his start after a couple times with rain delays, they brought him out of the pen, and he goes 3 innings, strikes out 3, did allow a run, but the way he was pitching, the way his ball was moving, still touching triple digits. And I know Pitching Ninja out there on Twitter is big. He's a big Jordan Hicks fan. When you see some of the overlays where Jordan Hicks is throwing a 98-mile-an-hour two-seamer with 21 inches of run, with 21 inches of arm side run, I mean, that's freaking nasty. A ball thrown that hard is not supposed to move that much.
He's a special, unique type of pitcher when you see him go out there and do the things he did last night. He checked all the boxes I was looking for. I think that there was a little bit of tough luck in some of the situations he had there. Broken bats, infield singles, just nasty stuff there. A few walks that didn't help him. But he, for him to be able to do that and to be able to sustain it the way that he did, hey, sometimes you lose. I don't think you're going to beat Lopez last night the way he pitched. But I'm really impressed to see how Hicks showed and how he approached it as a starter. And Brooke, to the point you made yesterday, kept the velocity going over the run, too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it was promising. Of course, like we said, you want wins, all that kind of stuff, but it was at least promising to see him out there and perform the way that he was. I think that was a great step forward. But also, can I just say, just not trying to give Miami too much credit. I have to say, you had, what was that, Sandy Alcantara before and then Pablo after that. Those are 2 really good pitchers where it's like, man, you kind of want those guys a little bit, right? They're really good.
And in the first game, even Luzardo's numbers aren't great this year. It's early, but he's really, really talented as well. So that's the thing. You beat the Marlins in a series, and I think sometimes we think about the Marlins, it's the Marlins, and their position players aren't fantastic. But again, you faced 2 aces,
yeah,
2 all-star
really
type
good
guys,
yeah.
and Alcantara shoved as well. You were fortunate to win that game. And Pablo Lopez was even better. And Luzardo, again, he's not in the same category as Alcantara and Pablo Lopez, but I think he's going to have a really nice career as well. So I do think on the surface, taking 2 of 3 in this series on the road, it's actually a little more impressive than it looks, because you think, it's the Marlins.
And you do it all without having to see Trevor Rogers, who was coming up today, who was a top 3 Rookie of the Year finalist last year, and a lefty at that. So, that Marlins team, I think they've got a lot of fight to them, a lot of spark, and there's a lot in their rotation, honestly, that reminds me of what I think the best version of the Cardinals rotation could look like. So, interesting matchup
and
there.
I have to say, hopefully you guys didn't hear me say it yesterday, but I was giving the Cardinals bullpen a lot of credit. Yesterday, just a little bit shaky, but Drew Verhagen, that was a little tough, but supposedly it was due to hip soreness, so it looks like he'll be going straight to the IL.
Well, it's you'll hurt your hip if you're sitting down for a week at a time, to like the point that Charlie made about Jake Woodford, and his disappearance over the last week and a half. Yeah, you got to pitch these guys. I think that, I'd mentioned yesterday Aaron Brooks and getting him out there, and then he comes out and he looked like a guy that hadn't pitched in a while, and you had the same issues.
Yeah, for Verhagen also, if he has to head to the IL and get something cleaned up, it's so early. I don't like to make huge judgments early on, because the Cardinals, they have had success in going to these Asian markets, whether it's Korea and Japan, and whether they're getting pitchers who are from there, or kind of the project type guys who don't have great success in the major leagues. They kind of bounce around. They're a 4A guy, like a Miles Michaelis. I mean, that's what Drew Verhagen pitched for about 6 years for the Tigers, but he never really found his spot as a starter. He was kind of a swing guy. It looked like he figured it out when he went to Japan. And I think you have to kind of give the Cardinals the benefit of the doubt in terms of these players coming over from Asia because they have a good track record. But also, if it doesn't work out, and sometimes it doesn't, you also gave this man a contract, and he's not as easily optionable as some of your younger pitchers. So if he's banged up and he has to kind of take a seat for a while, maybe that's the best thing for him to figure it out and come back and start to be productive because he has not been very impressive.
Yeah, so, again, we're about it's about a week away from rosters getting trimmed and things getting worked out there anyway. So I think that, some of these things will revolve themselves just because of the numbers game. But, outside of, what we saw on the mound last night, again, we're still in the exact same place we were at in the lineup. And, yeah, I'll give credit to Lopez for what he did. But, again, DeYoung, 0 for 3. Bader, 0 for 3. Molina, obviously, trying to get himself together, trying to get the health, get everything online. 1 for 3. Edmund had a down night last night. Dylan Carlson got back in. What was he out for? It was a maintenance day?
It was a work day.
Work day.
On 420.
Work day, one hit.
Oh, I didn't think about that. 420, could that have been a factor?
No, I don't. I think Dylan Carlson doesn't strike me as that.
I'm
kind of
kidding.
Live Mike Dylan Carlson last night, too, by the way. When he made that last pop-out, we got a real nice peek into how frustrated he is with who he is right now. But, it all goes back. Arenado, 3 for 4, and that's it. So
yeah.
There's got to be – maybe this is the perfect time to be heading up to Cincy, who's friendly to swinging the sticks, because it's just not happening right now.
Yeah, that's one of those things I have to say. I got to look at the
I feel like
pitching probables
now too. So maybe we see Sosa a little bit more.
I'd like to.
I think we would all like to just see. Once again, it's so early on that it doesn't matter. I feel like that much, anyways. Why not put Sosa out there? Also, Andrew Kisner is fantastic. We should start seeing him a little bit, which we have been. But I think what was that? Was that back-to-back starts for Yachty?
I would guarantee you'll see Kisner today, it feels like.
Yeah, 100%.
I think Yachty wanted to be out there last night again. He said it was his last game in Miami. He's got a lot of people out there that support him. He wanted to be there for Hicks' first start. But today, I think it's a pretty safe odds to say he won't be behind the plate tonight.
Yeah.
And so here's where, as Matt, you said, you kind of feel like, all right, we took 2 of 3 from the Marlins. Good stuff. We faced some good pitching. Let's go to Cincy. Let's get right. This could be one of those weekends where, like, everybody goes from batting 150 and all of a sudden they're batting 350 after the weekend, except you're facing good old Hunter Green tonight. So there's a lot of intrigue there. I mean, Hunter Green is throwing 100-plus miles an hour,
40
half
times.
His pitches,
Yeah.
half his pitches, and he's striking out a ton of guys. So you actually do have some intrigue, especially tonight, in a series where you would think the Cardinals should clean up because the Reds are scuffling. That has to be a really depressing situation for the Reds. They're not trying. They just shaved their payroll. They traded everybody. You got a couple nice pieces. Joey Votto can't buy a hit in the last couple weeks or so. That has to be a pretty depressing start to the season, and I don't think it's going to get any better in Cincy.
So I think it's an interesting weekend for a lot of those reasons you said right there. Hunter Green is obviously somebody that I think is everybody's worth putting their eyes on him because he's something so far. You get to see Steven Matz still roll in there, but the most interesting one for me, also you'll get to see another one of the Reds' main prospects, and Nick Lodolo, who's pitching on Sunday. But Saturday is the one I've got my eyes on. Dakota Hudson. Obviously had a rough time out last time. It's not the greatest place to be trying to get back on track going up to Great American, but usually he's the type of guy that would do well in that. He's a ground ball guy. He's going to pitch to contact, try to keep it on the infield. So I'm really got a lot of eyes on what that's going to look like because you need him to get on track here pretty soon.
And here's the other big intrigue piece in this series. You just never know if Tommy Pham will try to fight one of his former teammates. I'm sure he knows some gym owners in Cincy as well. Being through the NL Central, maybe Muay Thai. You could see a collision at the plate. You could see an inside pitch. Hey, what if something happened like last night with Jazz Chisholm, and that happens to Tommy Pham, and he starts chirping, and then after the game, Tommy Pham tries to fight one of the Cardinal players. You never know.
I feel like he was on good terms with a lot of the Cardinals players, right?
I'm sure he was on good terms
Maybe?
with Luke Voigt.
That's true. That is true. I feel like with Tommy Pham, it could quickly change. Quickly change.
Baseball's toughest guy, Tommy Pham, back at it again. I don't know.
He
Whatever.
is an interesting guy. He has a great backstory too. I will give him that. I thought he was always nice and personable. I think it's just all the outside stuff that we see, like the what was it, 2 stabbings?
Now 2 that we know of.
Yeah.
That we know of. Okay. I think I mean, he seems always like to me like a really nice guy. Has a great story. He literally learned how to play baseball from TV. He just watched it, and I think that's a really incredible story that he had. And he would used to do kind of camps here in St. Louis too for little kids.
He would be a good person to have be plugged in with the Players Alliance and what they're trying to get done. I don't know how involved he is with that, but I mean, yeah, that's the type of story you want to see. That's where you want to connect with. I just hope all the Cardinals stay safe this weekend while he's on patrol.
While
Be
he's
careful,
on
everybody.
patrol.
Yeah, watch your back.
So last night, Hicks, again, very impressive. And bullpen overall, not a good night whatsoever. And that's where, when you talk about the rosters shrinking back down come May, this is a situation that I think, I don't want to say it has already worked itself out, but you have so many guys who aren't getting work.
Yeah.
This isn't really a problem right now. Now, you do have this stretch of 20-odd games in 3 weeks where you're playing a ton of baseball. So I think all these guys are going to get work. So guys like Woodford not pitching for a week and a half, I think that's more just the fact that you had a couple of rainouts. And also, they really specifically, they wanted to manage Jordan Hicks and his workload as they found their way to get him a start finally. So it was clearly more important the first couple weeks of the season to make sure, all right, let's keep Jordan Hicks on a schedule, multiple innings. Okay, you got a rain out. We want to throw him here. Okay, finally we can get him a start. So I think that was an important piece of how they managed the bullpen moving forward. And then also a game like last night, maybe you're thinking that that's the game where Jake Woodford goes out there and gives you 3 innings. Now, it didn't happen that way, but you also have to have that in your back pocket.
Yeah, you got to have it in your back pocket, especially going into Cincy, where it could get out of sorts, and you might need him on either of the first 2 games of this series. I think you feel pretty confident that Waino's going to be okay on Sunday, but you may need him if that blister issue with Matz fires up, or if Hudson's still struggling to locate where he needs to be.